Welcome to the Great Life Experiment podcast. I'm your host, Monique Schaefer, and together we'll grapple with our messy, beautiful, and ever-changing personal and professional lives and the business world around us. I deeply believe there is no one right way to do this thing called life. Let's experiment together. As a quick reminder, friends, please note that this podcast is an independent production, and the information presented here and views expressed here reflect my personal opinion and do not reflect the views or positions of any organization or company that I'm affiliated with. Enjoy the episode. Hello, and welcome back to the Great Life Experiment podcast. I'm your host, Monique Schaefer, and we are with my training bestie and senior manager of research at a large publicly traded communications company, Chelsea Ottaviano. And I laugh and we both giggle because I always stumble over her name, despite the fact that we roll together all the time. So there we go. Thank you and welcome back. I'm grateful for our last conversation where we geeked out about jiu-jitsu, and in this podcast, talking about the messy and the beautiful, as well as the ever-changing world that we have. And I think we really covered kind of a personal side of our lives, but there's also the career and the business side of things. And you and I, we were at coffee recently and we were talking about career pivots or just changes. Maybe I'll phrase it that way, that we are in, whether it's communications, media, tech, whatever the space is right now. A lot of us are in a season of change because our businesses are changing, company is restructuring, layoffs, or you feel stuck. And even if you want to stay in a company, you're trying to pivot to something else. And so many of us are in a season of change, experiencing change and pivots. And something I didn't talk to you about before this, but like I have a LinkedIn group with alumni, unofficial, but just in a personal capacity, for people that I've worked with. So whether they're still currently employed at the company or, they've been let go, and there are like 1,100, I think over 1,100 people in there now, like still supporting each other, because it's important of, even if you stay or if you go, knowing that you still have community and people connected to you. Kind of a shout out to all of them. The inspiration of talking about this season of change and pivots is, I think we've all been impacted by that. So I wanted to get your take wherever you want to take this, right? Mm-hmm. So in your career, you've had some pretty name brand, you have quite an impressive resume and portfolio, and you've made, transitions between companies. And I know you feel pretty passionately about talking about this because there's the tactical side of it from the career perspective, but then also the take on, you as the person. So wherever you want to go with that, I know you feel pretty passionately about this topic.
Yeah. So I have had a couple of career pivots. So I actually started out in tech and I hated it. I did okay. I guess like my brain, works well in that environment. It was tech for a large pharmaceutical company, like my first job out of college. But oh God, I was so miserable. And I remember just sitting in my little cubicle thinking like, is this what the rest of my life is going to look like? Because like, God help me, I don't think I can do this forever. And when you're just starting out and, at this point I'm in like the first 2 years of my career, which I don't think enough people talk about how hard those first few years out of college, like if you're on a career path where you went to college and then you join one of these companies, I don't think it's talked about enough how truly hard those first few years are. Like one of the things nobody prepared.
Let's talk about it. Let's go there.
Yeah, like one of the things nobody prepared me for was how hard it was to like pick an outfit every morning. Let me tell you, my first job, pharmaceutical company, my manager is, she retired 2 years after I started. So she was like in her early 60s, PhD, been at this company for like a decade. Yeah, an incredible person who literally taught me so many things that I still use today. But we would show up to work wearing almost the exact same outfits. I am 22 years old at this point. She's in her early 60s. And it's just because I didn't know how to dress myself. Like I was dressing up as an adult, right? So just whatever I could find at like Banana Republic or Loft, I would just buy it and I would put it on. Nothing fit me well. Everything was like a little bit too big. I wore jewelry I didn't like, and I didn't paint my nails colors that I liked. And I took out my ear piercings and was like, this is who I am supposed to be now, right? Like I am literally playing dress up as an adult and then wondering why I was so miserable. I didn't like the work that I was doing. It was a great opportunity. I mean, don't get me wrong, it was a great job that set me up for where I am today. And like, I owe that company and those people who, like, I was there for almost 7 years. Those generous people pretty much raised me because I didn't know anything. I didn't even know how to dress myself. I am dressing like a 60-year-old woman. Like we're literally like there's photos
Which is
out there.
awesome. Maybe not appropriate for a 20-year-old, so not
Right.
knocking
No,
her. Yeah.
but I just thought like this is what you're supposed to do, right? Like I just didn't, it just, I was just very unhappy. And then one day, I get pulled into a meeting and I'm asked to be a participant for a research study, which
Mhm.
I'm sure they are definitely teaching UX in school now, but I didn't learn that in undergrad and I studied business and management information systems. I don't ever remember hearing about UX and UX design and whatnot. And I'm a participant in a study, and we have paper prototypes where I'm pretending to like press a button on this piece of paper, and then they move to another piece of paper, right? Like super lo-fi. And I leave that room and I'm like, what did we just do? Because that is the most fun I have ever had in this building. That was the first time that I got to experience what UX research is, even though it was truly like the lowest fidelity. That team was given no resources. Like this was just not a top priority. In this
Yeah.
huge organization, we had like one UX design slash research lead, right? Like there weren't a ton of resources for it. So then I get more responsibility in this job and I get to take on more like enterprise type products. So like apps, chatbots, things like that.
Mhm.
And nobody cares about how usable any of this is. Nobody cares how user friendly it is because we're going to write, full decks on how to use it. So you don't actually, it doesn't need to be intuitive. We're going to tell you how to use it. So without really telling the people that I'm working with that I'm doing this, I start just creating designs in Photoshop on my personal laptop. Sorry, on my personal laptop. That's all I had. They weren't gonna give me the
Yeah.
tools to do this. Also sorry if you hear my dog. And hold on, she distracted me.
You want to go feed her quick?
Pause. Oh no, she's fine. She's gonna be more obedient if she's not fed. I'm not starving her. She
No, it's
can
okay.
wait. Okay.
So, so you, unbeknownst to your colleagues, you were starting to do this anyway because you found it interesting, starting to create these
Yeah.
workups and
Yes. And I have no experience doing this. I just thought, well, if we can make this a better experience and then I get less tickets trying to tell people how to do this, isn't that a win for everyone? But nobody wanted to, this wasn't a normal thing at the company, right? Nobody wanted to bake that into their timelines, like having time to do research and to do design and then do validation research again.
yeah,
So it's something I kind of just started doing on the side and just asking for feedback from just random people that I was working with within the org who weren't necessarily on the projects.
yeah,
Not the highest quality research that has ever been done, but it was something. It was better than
yeah.
nothing. And then it kind of got to this point where, I still don't like the tech work. I truly did a job I didn't like for a long time.
I think as many
And
of us do when we're first getting started, just do the thing, gain experience, even if you don't love the job.
yeah, and not only that, like when you're at a company for a really long time, I was so emotionally connected to those people. When I told my manager I was leaving, I sobbed. Oh my God, he didn't care. Like, he didn't care at all. He just
It's a big thing
I
for us, though.
yeah, I sobbed. I cried for, like, weeks over this decision to
Yeah.
leave this company, even though I was so unhappy and, like, in the work that I was doing. But I truly do feel like those poor people had to raise me from a little baby who knew nothing to someone who could hold their own in meetings and do secret
Yeah.
side projects because they felt passionate about it. So then I left and I moved to a finance company to do research full time. And there's something to be said for working somewhere that really challenges you mentally and emotionally. This job was so hard. Everything about it was so tough, from the people that I worked with, to the products that we worked on, to the timelines that I had. Like, I'm doing end-to-end research in 2 weeks,
Mhm.
doing 6 hours of interviews at least a day, and then just falling asleep face down on, like, my office floor afterward because, like, I can't make it to the couch to fall asleep. But damn if they did not turn me into a really, really good researcher who I don't panic now when someone gives me something out of the blue. I'm just like, okay, this is what it is now. I have done this before and
Yeah.
I can do this again. And, like, if I could give any advice to my younger self, it would literally be, you're fine. It's gonna be fine. It's gonna be hard for a little bit, but it's
Yeah.
fine. Like, you're going to get through it. And then everybody's gonna forget about how hard this time was, or we're all gonna look back and laugh together about how
Yeah.
hard this is. There's something about communal suffering that
Yeah.
really brings
Bonding.
people together. Yeah. And then and it's so funny. I was good. I was really good and I worked really hard and I did everything right. And, life taught me another lesson that I didn't want to learn, which was, it doesn't it doesn't matter sometimes. This is just what it is. It doesn't matter sometimes how hard you work, how much you care, and how good you are at your job. So I was let go unexpectedly. I thought I was getting promoted on this one call, and instead I join it and it's my manager and it's HR, and instead I'm losing my job.
And not just you, but it was like a change in value about the function of what you
Yeah.
do, because it wasn't just you,
Yeah.
it was a whole area or discipline that was
Yeah.
impacted.
Yeah, it was my content writer, my UX content writer, she was also laid off. Other researchers had also been laid off. And yeah, the research team from when I started to when I was pushed out dwindled down to just a couple of people.
Mhm.
And I remember thinking, like, this is a good thing, right? I I didn't necessarily love the company, even if I really loved the work. And I'm going to take time off and I'm just going to live my absolute best life. And this is a blessing. I am fine. Everything is
Yeah.
fine. Except I think it was actually the worst thing that could have been done at the time for me. And
Mhm.
because now, a year later, now at a new job that I love more than any job I've ever had before,
Mhm.
because it was the worst thing for me, it was the best thing for me. I
Mhm.
look at my career and I look at work and I look at just being able to do research after not working for 10 whole months.
Yeah.
Nothing bothers me anymore.
Yeah.
And there were times I debated, like, I thought I wanted to maybe become a financial advisor, right? I thought in this time that I had off, I painted a lot of birdhouses and I was like, maybe this is what I'm gonna do now. Like, this is gonna be my new thing. I'm gonna sell this on
Yeah.
Etsy. I'm never going back to a big corporation. I thought maybe I'll start my own consulting business and like I'm meant to be an entrepreneur. Like that is definitely my path.
Hmm.
And then after a while of living this supposed best life, like every time I would talk to someone, they would say like, "Oh, you're so lucky. Like it's the summer in Colorado and you don't have a job. Like you must be having so much fun." And I'm like, "Yeah, I am dead inside. I'm fine. Like
Yeah.
this is the best time of my life." And I used to date.
Smiling through it. You smiled through it.
I did smile a lot through it. Yeah. And then I fought people on a blue mat to get through it. I used to daydream about not working and having like financial independence. And I thought that that would make me happy. But when I wasn't working, all I wanted to do was work again and just to have someone to give me that opportunity and to like see something in me
Hmm.
enough to hire me again. And I really think unless you have been laid off, you don't know this like despair that can come with it when you are trying to find another job and the
Yeah.
job market's not good. And there are so many other researchers being laid off because we're not always seen as like critical,
Critical.
right? We're not building anything for you. We're not designing anything for you.
Mhm.
We're trying to make your products better and make it easier for your customers, but we're not still exactly seen as business critical. And there was also something that happened during COVID where like designers and researchers were way overhired. And then,
Mhm.
you know, everything comes back to a balance. But all that to say is it is the most humbling thing I have ever experienced in my life
Yeah.
of losing a job that I thought there was no way they would ever do that. I
Yeah.
thought I was way too good. There was no way they could ever get rid of me.
Yeah.
I am a top performer. I do research in 2 weeks. Like I am the fastest researcher on our entire team, right? Like you wouldn't get rid of me. That's not the way that the world works.
Yeah.
And because of that, now I feel so grateful every time I get to log on to my work computer and do research and do the work and set goals and talk to coworkers and face challenges. And this is something that I used to wake up and dread because you know, life forced another lesson on me that I didn't
Yeah.
ask for. But damn if it's not one of the most important lessons I have ever learned. And that is people need to work and it is fundamental to to being a human is waking up every day and do whatever the work is. It doesn't even matter. It doesn't matter if you're full-time or you're part-time or if you wake up and you are a stay-at-home mom, that's the work. It is
Yeah.
about adding value to the people around you and setting
Yeah.
goals for yourself and achieving them and feeling like you were freaking doing something.
Yeah.
And I took that for granted for 9 years.
Yeah.
And then now, truly, it's everything I think happens for a reason in your career, even when it's really hard to tell.
Yeah.
But now I ended up somewhere that I am just so happy at and doing work that I love and somewhere that like really loves and appreciates research, which
Yeah.
I don't know how common that is at companies anymore. So that was very long-winded as well. But like,
No.
yeah, there's careers are tough and I don't think any amount of schooling or anything is going to prepare you for what it can do for you positively and negatively, like
Yeah.
emotionally and mentally.
Yeah. I mean, I think, and thank you for being vulnerable and sharing that because I mean, I can relate, and I think a lot of, other people can relate as well. I think it's especially tough. I can't speak for you. I will speak for myself. And I have not gone through a layoff being the person being laid off, but I've had people very close to me that have
Mm, mhm.
and living through that in my family and um but I think it's really hard for all of us that are driven, we're goal oriented, we're right, you are a high performer, right? You're thinking I'm going to get a promotion and we tie so much of ourselves to the work that we do. And it's hard when I feel like I'm doing everything right. And why did I not get the outcome that I thought I was supposed to have?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that transcends career. For us, that was whether it's a promotion, for us, that was like trying to have kids. That was a journey. And like, I think I'm doing everything right. Why am I not getting the outcome? Or, conversations at work with people are like, I feel like I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. And why am I not getting the promotion? Why am I not getting the recognition? Or I'm amazing. Like I'm a rock star at what I do. And the company decides that they value something different and there's a disconnect.
Mm-hmm.
And that can be hard. I think
Yeah.
that lesson of you can do everything right, but it's not actually about you
Yeah.
and it's not about your worth. But I think you make a really good point, whether it's about work, but I think you touched on this sense of, I've heard a lot of people talking about this, like Scott Galloway, he goes by Prof G. I don't know if you've heard his stuff, but this importance of having a sense of purpose
Yes.
and meaning and contribution, and how that is so fundamental to the human experience of having a sense of purpose and meaning and value, and like why am I here, what am I contributing,
Yeah.
and creating impact in the world. And the ability to have money is one thing, but I think for many of us, money represents control and freedom. At
Mm-hmm.
least for me, that's what it represents.
Me too.
When I've done, all these corporate activities of like, what motivates you at work? And mine, some people are like, I like mastery. I like learning not lots of new things. I like being a subject matter expert, whatever it is. And mine is freedom, like freedom, money, and impact. And I had a boss one time being like, but you want money and impact? And I'm like, yes, I don't see those things as mutually exclusive. Like for
Mm-hmm.
me, I am just hardwired. Like the amount that I love people is like, that's my strength and my weakness, like how much I want people to do well in the world. But it's like, I want to do well. I want to create impact, that the world was a better place because I was here.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you can do well and doing good. And I know that's kind of like out of fashion right now and like what everybody's talking about. It's like hyper efficiency and correction. And some people might label that as woke, but I think that's a bunch of nonsense. And that's like not what I'm talking about. It's like doing well in what you do. And then you can also make the people that you work with, the business that you have, the communities that you're in, the world a better place because of what you do. I think, to your point, whether it's like part-time or full-time or raising a healthy human in the world,
Mm-hmm.
like having that sense of purpose,
Mm-hmm.
I think is really important. And to what you were talking about of like growing in your career, doing well, and then something changes, something that I've noticed that has made me, well, a couple things that have made me pause lately in the tech industry in particular that I've noticed, and this is me speaking on my personal capacity and not
Mm-hmm.
representing any organization,
Mm-hmm.
um, that I've, sorry if you hear my puppies, my children,
That's
we'll see
okay.
if that's in the podcast or not. Um, where's I going? Oh, in the tech industry in particular, now that I'm in more senior management, seeing people that rise from director to senior director to VP to SVP, and then they're in the C-suite, and then something changes, and they are no less talented, they have no less experience, like all the contribution, everything that they brought, but for some reason the business needs something else, and boop, they're deciding to take time with their family. We thank them for their service, and
Yes.
we will see them, they will be through us in this transition period, and we wish them the best of luck. And it's, they accept it, and they probably got this great umbrella package,
Mm-hmm.
or this great severance package, but it's like, how much did they sacrifice along the way to no longer be viewed as valuable and just be set
Mm-hmm.
aside? And for me, that's kind of sent me on a path of like, wanting to be a CEO, running a business, whether it's in a large corporation or being on corporate boards, having conversations with people where it's like, maybe when I feel stuck or how do I get to that next level, the advice that I've gotten from many people is you are enough, you are valuable, you do a valuable experience, and now your job is you're more than your resume. And so how do you make sure that you are known in places and spaces other than your job?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's where I've noticed this like interesting crossover. I like to take inspiration from lots of different places. Like I follow far too many like entrepreneurs and like personal development and like build your own business stuff, but of the importance of personal branding,
Mm-hmm.
even in the corporate space, even if you're going to work in your company, how do you go about positioning yourself for your values articulated? And at the same time, you are creating a moat around you because even if they don't find you valuable anymore, how did I build skills and experiences and that I am betting on myself, I'm investing in myself, that is valuable in the market. And nobody tells us to do that in school. It's like, do the right thing. What are you supposed to do in the job? And if I'm just exceptional at the job,
Mm-hmm.
then I'll be rewarded. And then you have these moments of pivots, either watching other people getting stuck or languishing in a role, or, you know, having a restructure happen, that it's like, I need to have purpose, like what drives me, what gives me meaning, and recognizing the value
Mm-hmm.
that you have, and that you have to give yourself permission to recognize that in yourself and not just the validation of other people.
Mm-hmm.
At least for me, that's my soapbox on that one. And I think it's kind of a, you know, recovering perfectionist, right?
I'm there
Millennial,
with
oldest
you.
daughter,
Yep.
you know, oldest child, perfectionist, love those gold stars, you know, the worthiness of myself, and not in a arrogant, narcissistic, bragging way, but it's like honoring the value of what you bring.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think my last soapbox on this one, but maybe we can pivot in a second to like getting the heart of kind of topics and problems and maybe some practical skills and tools, because you do this all day
Mm-hmm.
long in research. But I think about this a lot right now. And once again, I say this in a personal capacity. I really think a lot about how do we value and amplify humans during the rise of AI? And when we start talking about human workers and digital workers, there are conversations happening at Davos and in lots of forums of like, we're not talking about chief human resource officer anymore. We are talking about chief work officer.
Mm-hmm.
And how do you have humans and digital assistants, right? Digital agents, whatever you want to call it.
Mm-hmm.
How do we do it in an ethical way that we still can make this human-centric when change is coming with AI? And if you solely focus on here, the tasks here, the things that I've always done, like you kind of have a slow moving freight train, right? Coming at your job. And so how do we use this moment to really figure out like what are the uniquely human skills and amplify those, so then you're creating that moat around you. And even if, say, your function gets laid off and it gets automated, do you have transferable skills that the machine doesn't do?
Right.
So I'm sure that'll be a whole episode or
Yeah.
series of episode in and of itself. But I think a lot about that lately, given what I see and what I'm building. And yeah. And I, once again, in a personal capacity, I think that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think from personal experience too, like if AI in different ways are going to replace humans in the roles that they have today, just from what I had experienced in the past year, how do we care for people when they lose their jobs? When, if it is a case where it's, you know, thousands and thousands of people losing their jobs, it gets more competitive to find a new one, or the role that you have, you know, spent years or decades getting, you know, proficient at and dedicating, you know, how many hours of your life to doing this. And now this is a job that we just don't need any human to do at all. Is there are so many big questions here to answer, and it is one of those things that now I of course look at it from a completely different perspective. I definitely did not have enough empathy for people before who have lost their jobs. My thought before was just, okay, update your resume and your LinkedIn and just
Yeah.
apply every day.
Yeah.
But the psychological effect of losing your job for whatever reason that it is, and in a market where it may get harder there's going to be less jobs available. And as more people lose them, how do we care for people? And also, do we care enough about people to make sure that people actually do keep their jobs?
Yeah.
There's a lot to unpack there. And it's definitely something that makes me very nervous. But I think
I
as a
think
researcher,
there's hope in it
yeah,
too as well. And I think that'll be the thing that we all wrestle with in,
yeah.
in the coming years. And sorry, what were you going to say about research?
No, it's good. Yeah, I think UX research is a really interesting case for this in terms of what should a human do and what can we automate? Because
Yeah.
I am all for automating parts of my job. Like, please,
Yeah.
please, let's take some of these tasks away. But the foundation of what I do is understand people and why they look at things a certain way and why they feel a certain way about what they're looking at. And I can't imagine a world, and maybe I'm just not, thinking hard enough, but I can't imagine a world in which someone is comfortable having some sort of AI type thing interview them about a product or service available
Yeah.
and feeling comfortable with that and being willing to open up and be vulnerable
Mhm.
with a non-human. And this is something that is absolutely discussed among researchers of, okay, if we could automate anything, if we could just, upload this thing and something else would take care of it, what would it be? And typically for researchers, it's like, can you do our synthesis for us? That's when we
The
do all
notes
these.
and
Yes, please organize my notes for me. Like, we need, better ways to take our transcripts from our, like our moderated interviews and have something put it together and spit out a report, because this takes 2 weeks of my time every single time that I do it. So we're all on board with that. But it's such an interesting case with research in terms of this conversation, because can something else, have a conversation with a person and accurately observe what they're feeling? Can it tell? I mean, and I'm sure there are cases for that, but I know how to, after years of doing this, when I get a participant who is obviously uncomfortable and is maybe just doing this for money, but I still have a job to do and I don't want to hurt anyone along the way. And so the thing that that I care about more than anything as a researcher is making sure my participants feel comfortable and safe and protected. That means, of course, protecting their privacy, protecting their name, and all of those other details that we capture, protecting them from the observers that I have on the call, and making sure I keep them muted, and that if they have any questions, it goes through me first. And then if I ever allow any observer to speak up and talk to my person, right? Like, I'm vetting them first. I am making sure they're aware of how to talk to these people. That is at the heart of what we do. If we don't have people willing to look at our products and our services and feel vulnerable and comfortable enough to tell us what they really think, to look something with a stranger and say, I don't understand what this means. That may feel very small, but that is not something that people necessarily always feel comfortable opening up about and saying, I am confused, I am frustrated here. And that is what I am asking of people when I do this research. And there is nothing more important to me than creating that safe space for people to open up. And imagine a non-human doing that.
Yeah.
Maybe I just refuse to see a world where I don't get to interview people, because it's my favorite part of doing research, because people say strangest things. It's incredible. You never know what some stranger somewhere in the country is going to say about what you're offering. I refuse to imagine a world where
someone somewhere, someone in,
Yeah.
some room decides that that isn't important anymore.
Yeah.
I
I think
refuse.
I think I'd love your thoughts on, you're touching on a topic that as long as there are humans in the world, humans need to interact
Yes.
with humans. And we're asked to do a lot of things, right? And there's the can you do this? Can you do that? Right. And it's very tactical.
Hmm.
But I think in order to really work with other humans, it's getting to the heart of what is the problem, the want, the need, the desire, the pain that we're
Hmm.
trying to solve for, right? So as a product manager, I think a lot about that whole discovery to design to develop to deploy cycle. And I always back up in every stage. It's like, what is the outcome we're trying to achieve? What is the problem we're trying to solve for? And you had talked about creating that, I'll use the phrase like psychological safety
Hmm.
and empathy of getting to the heart of the problem. And so maybe
Hmm.
to wrap the conversation, even for people that are not researchers that are listening, we're still humans living a human experience, interacting with other humans.
Hmm.
Do you have a couple pieces of advice or kind of tidbits that you think are essential in when you are trying to get to the heart of a problem or creating that safe space and you're trying to learn from someone? What do you recommend that people do? Like, what do you think of those like cardinal principles in order to really get to the heart of something? What needs to exist?
Yeah, I think kind of touching on that humans need humans, researchers need researchers. We cannot operate alone. I need other researchers to review my work. And I, every single time, have to put aside my ego and say, can you please look at this? Did I ask the right questions? Am I getting to the heart of what the business needs here?
Yeah.
And I think it's one of those things that it sounds easy, right? Like we have this problem and I'm going to make a list of questions and I'm going to ask someone to answer them. But like you said, like getting to the heart of the problem, I don't think one, you can do it alone. I think researchers need to have, just like anyone in any role, it can be very I feel very vulnerable every time I have, some other really smart, really smart, experienced researcher looking at my work because everybody has different perspectives and everybody has different knowledge of the business and of the customers, especially researchers. And
Mhm.
so putting aside your ego and asking someone with a different perspective and experience to look at your work is so important. I think in terms of when you're actually in the midst of doing research. So of course there's so many different methodologies, there are so many
Yeah.
different approaches.
Yeah, I think high
And
level principles that
yeah,
anybody could apply, whether they're a researcher or not.
yeah, I think one thing that I have learned that I think I've honestly had mixed feedback on, but I do think is what has made me really successful is being willing to play around when it comes to methodologies and metrics. And that is not to say to put it as, put quality aside and start mixing things that don't make sense and not doing things from like a scientific method. But we are not scientists. Okay. We're not doing medical research. We're doing experienced human research. And
Mhm.
so there's no two problem that is the same, and no single business problem should have the exact same research approach. And I
Mhm.
think just like any other person, researchers will get really comfortable in a methodology that they know how to use. I love usability testing. It is my bread and butter. I started doing it in tech, and it's something that I carried with me
Mhm.
today. There are a lot of methods that I don't know how to do, and I don't know how to explain what they are. But if some researcher out there, because I'm always going to ask for help, says you should really try a max diff analysis or
Yeah.
something, I'm going to say, okay, you're going to have to teach me what that is. And I'm just going to have to go into this, trying to gain as much knowledge as possible, but knowing that I may not entirely do this right because it's my first time doing it,
Mhm.
but that's okay. As a researcher, you have to get past that because there are so many methodologies and there are so many new ones that companies like Google are developing, like the heart framework, for example, that you can't be afraid to try them because otherwise
you can do all the research you want, but if you're not approaching it in new and innovative ways, you might not be getting to the heart of what you're looking for. So then you figure out right, someone reviews your test script, you figure out your methodology. Then you have someone in front of you who, say, for example, is very shy. They're very quiet. They're not thinking aloud as they go through. I've had this many times, and it takes a lot of patience and it takes a lot of being really uncomfortable, I think, with silence. There's a great podcast, a UX research podcast called Awkward Silences, because that is truly something that every researcher has to get used to. And I still have moments where, like, I literally want to fill the space and I literally have little fidget toys with me whenever I'm interviewing, and it's awkward and I like feel like I
Yeah.
need to do something, like I need to fix my hair, I need to fix my glasses or something. And I just like have this under the desk and I just keep myself as calm as possible when I am uncomfortable by whatever it is that's happening, right? They don't see what's happening under the desk. So I have all of the fidget toys to keep myself calm when the
Yeah.
participant is viewing me. But I think it's just ultimately, when it comes to interviewing, is being ready for any type of personality that you're going to get. You're going to get some really abrasive people. But when you do get someone that is really quiet and is really uncomfortable, I find that a lot of encouragement, like verbal encouragement of like, yeah, can you just keep thinking aloud? You are doing so great so far. Like, I would just love to hear your thoughts. Anything you say is appreciated. I want to know whatever it is that you are thinking and you are feeling. I am not judging you. I'm not judging your intelligence or your ability to go through this product, because I think people will be more silent if they are afraid of being embarrassed
Yeah.
or if they are afraid of looking stupid. And so, and that is something that I have truly struggled with my whole life. And so I think that verbal encouragement is, you're going to get people to open up to you, but also in those awkward silences, when you can tell, and I think this is just something with experience, when you can tell someone is working through a problem in their head, is shutting up and letting them work through it and not jumping in and trying to solve the problem like kids,
Yeah.
right? Let them solve it on their own, or you might just make them feel stupid and they will just shut down on you again.
Yeah.
And so that it's just another way, I think, of protecting the space
Yeah.
of research and protecting your participant, because you want them to have a good experience too. Because if people don't have a good experience being participants, they're not going to keep doing it. And who am I going to interview? How am I going to
Yeah.
keep my job? Yeah. So
Yeah.
I think those are my top three from my years of
Yeah.
experience in research so far.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you for sharing your wisdom and research, your thoughts on that, but then also, your own journey in careers and pivots and, speaking to our younger selves, but then also the things that we're thinking about now. And I'm just so grateful for you. So thank you for joining me today on this episode and our last episode together.
Thank you so much. As always, it is a pleasure, and I am so excited that you are doing this.